Okay, so today's lunch is going to be a very, very simple and easy dish, and it's going to be totally and absolutely 100% sin-free, which is fantastic. This is not just for me, this is for my wife too, Jane, and so it's a meal for two. And what we're going to make is a frittata, or as we used to call it when I was a kid, an omelette. You can't get much simpler than that. So we got some spring onions chopped up, we got some cooked chicken that was in the fridge, we've got some peppers finely sliced, some mushrooms, just 2 or 3 mushrooms there chopped up, bit of bacon that was in the fridge with all the fat trimmed off and removed, and we've got some tomatoes and some sweet corn. So let's get it all cooking. The one ingredient that I didn't mention then, of course, over here, draining in a pan, I've got some finely sliced potatoes, new potatoes, baby potatoes, and they're just sitting there draining and cooling down. So, right, okay, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get some heat onto that pan, which has already started, and give it a few sprays with fry light. And first thing we're going to do is pop in the pan some spring onions. Some spring onions followed by the peppers and the mushrooms, because I think, from my mind, these are the things that need to really sort of get cooking and sweat down a bit before we put anything else into the pan. Always like to get it in there and give it another few gentle sprays of fry light there. Give it a stir. It's got quite a good heat under here, it's on fairly high. While that's on, I'm going to turn the grill on, because once we get, you hear it humming in the background there, hear the fan going. Once we get going and we're ready to get the eggs in here, once it's started to cook and it's cooked on the bottom, what I'm going to do is transfer it onto the grill to finish the top, because we don't want the bottom burned. I'm using a non-stick pan, just a cheap non-stick pan, and this will make a frittata that's big enough for 2 people. Now the thing I always find with using fry light, it's one of those things, it's taken me a long time to get used to the lack of oil in the pan. I mean, normally if I'd have been doing this, it'd have been in there, load of oil in there first to get it all sizzling and fry it together. And when I first started using fry light, I found it very, very difficult. Everything would sort of burn in the pan because I got so little oil in there. And I found the trick for me is to use a nice non-stick pan like this, keep it moving, and then eventually we'll, instead of adding any more oil, which we don't want to do, once it starts to get to that stage where you think, oh, it's drying out a bit, oh, it's not going on, I do something that I saw Ken Hom do in one of his cooking programs about 20 years ago. And he was saying that when you're cooking with a wok, when you're using a wok, to make a Chinese meal, once he's added the initial oil, he never adds any more oil, even if it looks like it's drying out. What he does is either adds a little bit of chicken stock or adds a bit of water. And I found that by doing that, especially when you've got a bit of what I'm going to add next, because I'm going to put a bit of bacon in the middle here to start that cooking. And what happens with the bacon when you add the bacon, quite often when it starts to sizzle and cook, is the salts will come out of the bacon, and on the rather dry non-stick pan they'll start to brown in the bottom of the pan. They'll start to add a sort of brown layer in the bottom of the pan. When you add a little bit of oil to that brown layer, and it mixes with the mushrooms and the other things, it really starts to form a nice sort of extra layer of taste coming out of the bacon that you don't get if you don't add that bit of water and take it off the bottom of the pan. There is a technical name for it which escapes me for the moment. It's what when you've made your roast and you've got the sort of sticky stuff at the bottom of the pan, then they add a bit of water to it and get it down, and it's got a name, but I'm sure it'll come back to me when I've finished doing this, obviously. Right, in with the gravy. Gravy? Where did that come from? Got roasts on the brain. In with the cooking bacon and the onions and peppers and mushroom. I'm going to add some sweet corn and some tomatoes. Actually, I haven't needed to add any water to this because it seems to be creating enough moisture as it goes. Especially now I've added the tomatoes. Of course, they'll give it a bit of moisture anyway. Let that just cook through for a minute. I do find that adding something like sweet corn or maybe peas, sometimes I'll add peas, just adds that little bit of explosive flavour in there. You know, peas are a wonderful thing to add to things like an omelette or what's the word I'm looking for? A risotto, that's it. A risotto and that sort of thing, or fried rice or whatever, because they've got that little explosive nature. They still stay solid, but when you bite into them and they release their moisture, and you get that little explosion. So we got some cooked chicken there just to get it in there with everything else. Now the potatoes. Looks like a lot, but all of this is either speed or free, which is fantastic. Right, everything just get in there. Right, time for a bit of seasoning, some salt, probably enough there, don't want to overdo it, and pepper. And with all those lovely vegetables in there, it isn't going to need really anything else adding to increase the flavour. Right, so this point, in with the eggs. Got half a dozen eggs here, and give them all a good beating. Pour them into the pan. and give everything a good stir, basically to get the egg in between everything and to get it all down to the bottom of the pan so that it can begin to cook. We'll just leave that there for a moment just to cook on the bottom, and then I'll transfer it once I feel that it's started to cook through. I'll transfer it under the grill and cook it from on top. So here it is, one frittata, or if you prefer, as I say, omelette. This is easily enough for 2 people. You could probably feed 3 or 4 actually, if you add in a lot of other stuff to it maybe. But there it is. It is all totally 100% sin-free, and believe me, it is very, very tasty. Yeah, you can add whatever you want to it. Jane likes a simple side salad with hers. Loads and loads more speed there on the old plate. I, on the other hand, being a good northern lad, prefer a few baked beans just to give it a bit more moisture. There you go. So that's it. There you have it. One plain and simple frittata. Didn't take long at all to cook. If you don't mind a bit of chopping beforehand, bit of preparation of course. I personally find chopping rather therapeutic, and I can always put something on my phone and sit and watch something on my phone while I chop. There we go. So I hope you enjoyed watching that, and I'll see you in the next video.